Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have back with us Danny Favreau, who's the founder of One Less Worry, and we'll be talking about Social Security claiming options. Danny, welcome back to the program.
Thank you back, Mike. I appreciate it.
Hey, so I think when I hear claiming options, that means that there are choices, and it means there's not just one choice. And I think that a lot of people think, oh, I can retire at X, so I check the box and I claim Social Security, and then I head on down the road. But that's not quite the easiest route for people or the most effective route because there's a lot of considerations. Where do you start with your clients when they come to you talking about, hey, when should I take Social Security?
Well, that's important right there. I mean, that is a great question, and it's a question that needs to be analyzed with all your other stuff to make sure that everything is in place for your retirement. It's not a question of, okay, let me just take a look at your statement and let's just pick a date and time and figure out what's best for you. Okay, we actually will pull, if you're a couple, we pull both of your statements together. We actually do a maximization report for you. We'll tell you the month and the year of when each of you should file to get the maximum dollar from Social Security. Now, most people don't do that. Most people will just quickly pick a time frame, a date, and that's it, because they figure, I'm retiring at 62, I'm going to take my money at 62, and I'll be done with it. But they turn around, they're going to run out of money, or they've lost a lot of money because they didn't maximize their Social Security. And a lot of advisors don't even talk to them about Social Security because there's no money made for advisors in it, okay? So a lot of times they don't even talk about it, and that's a downside. I mean, our first thing we do talk about is Social Security because that's very important because that could literally make your finances last your lifetime. Every dollar that you could take more from Uncle Sam is one less dollar coming out of your nest egg.
Yes, that's huge. And you mentioned a software. So talk a little bit about that analysis from some of those outputs. How can you maximize Social Security income? What are some examples you've seen?
Greatest examples are, whoever the breadwinner is, there tends to be the one that's going to be obviously, taking it the later in life, they can maximize it past their full retirement age of 67 roughly, or 66, and whatever month it is. But let's just say it's 67. Every year they could wait and go all the way to 70. It's going to go up by 8% each year. Their money, okay? That's important. Now, it's just not for their lifetime, okay? When they pass and their spouse is still alive, that money will go to the spouse. So, and the spouse will lose theirs, obviously, but the funds will just transfer over, and the spouse would lose theirs because they're going to take the higher of the two. So you're not only taking it for your lifetime, but you're taking it for your spouse's lifetime too. So that's important, So you got to max that out. But our report, what we do is we just put in all your figures of everything that you've made, put it all into the system, and it will generate over 1,000 different ways of doing it. And it comes up with a max of when to take it out and when you should. And it'll give you a couple of scenario cases, like the next better than, like the top 4 or 5. And then they'll break it down so you have different ages to choose from. But it's going to also show you how much money you can lose. So if you live to X number, age, you're going to lose this much money. So it's pretty much it's a great report, and people want to see it and realize it. Like, wow, that's what we're going to shoot for. Now, granted, if somebody's sick, something like that, then you may want to change it a little bit, take it earlier. But most people should wait till later in life to take it, at least to the full retirement age, because every time you take it before 67, if that's your full retirement age, you're losing money. You could, at age 62, you're only getting 70% of that figure of your full retirement age, And I get this every year. I get people like, well, I'm turning 73 now, so I get the increase, right? No, once you take it, you can't change that back.
Right. That's a big point.
Made.
Yep.
And
so that's
I get that question all the time.
That really is interesting, to where it's like, it's not just let me click a couple buttons and update this, or when we come out with the latest and greatest new and improved, I get that, right? It's kind of like, the car you bought 5 years ago. Right now, the model probably has all kinds of new whiz bang features, but they don't give it to you. You already bought the car.
Right. You know,
So know what
there is a case scenario. If it's, say you have it, you got your Social Security now, and before retirement age, so between 62 and 66, say, you started taking it, and it's less than 12 months of that, then you could actually stop, pay that money back to them, and then life will go on like it never happened. Them cases do happen every now and then. Somebody would inherit some money. They started taking Social Security, then they inherited money. They could stop that Social Security, pay that money back, live off, their inheritance until a later day and age, and then start the Social Security at a later time. That is very, once in a while that does happen, but most cases are not that. They end up
for the most part, it's irrevocable. You're stuck. Yeah. I want to go back to that software example, because it makes me think of software is wonderful, and it gives you all these analysis, and then the professional like yourself can kind of bring the top suggestions to the client for consideration. But you have to know the right questions to input into the software, that maybe even a fill in the blank kind of, I could just do that on my own, or if I had the software, I could fill it in on my own, because there's going to be some life questions that maybe someone like yourself would know to ask, to put in there and go, hey, tell me, do you ever have something like this? And I think I remember once talking to someone that was going to claim Social Security, but then they had, I forget what it was, custody of their grandchild, and their grandchild had special needs. And because of that one thing, that all of a sudden increased their Social Security by a nice dramatic amount, and they didn't even think to bring it up. It was asked of them. So are there some things that you're watching for when you're working with your client and working with that software model that would kind of help bring the best out of it?
Yeah, we actually do quite a few questions. We ask quite a few questions to get the answers, just figure out, first and most, when do you want to retire? And what are your goals in life? And what are you going to do after retirement? Okay, because you work 35 years and then you're going to retire, but you still got another 35 years to live, typically, or 30 more years to live. What are you going to do? And how's that financing going to take care of that for you? So that's part of it. But we start asking some health questions a little bit, see how they're healthy, if they're not, see if, figure out what that is for them, because everybody's different, and everybody's goals are different too.
Yeah.
So we sit down with a couple and figure out what their goals are. In scenario cases, what happens if this one passes away? What's your plans then? And then ask the other way around, to spouse, what happens to your spouse? What are your plans? Life changes here, and life could take a big U-turn real fast, because you never know, when something's going to happen when you get up in age. And our plans are always flexible. We try to make it so much flexibility. If this scenario happens, this could take place. This will take place, So it makes it easier to change things. But we want to make sure that we get all your concerns out of the way. We have a concerns questions that we literally go through. Well, you write down your top 5 concerns, and then which ones keep you up at night, and we address every one of them concerns. That's the first thing that we do. We want to make sure we know that. Then we do a commerce. It's not a credit score; it's a commerce score. It tells us your risk factors of how risky you are with your money. Where do you want to be in that scale? And people, when they're retired, they're not too risky. They want something secure. This will tell us that. And once we get all that compiled together, then we give you all these different reports. And then we do the Social Security report too for maximization. Now we're looking at what your full picture of retirement looks like. So this is what you currently have. This is your Social Security. This is what we're currently suggesting. This is what the outcome is going to be. And this is what we would change under different circumstances. So if this is something you like, we could get this all together for you. If it's something that you want to take parts of, then, be aware that certain things will affect different things. And we make all them points out. It's clear cut. You walk away with some paperwork with everything that we talked about. And it's so amazing that people just love it because it's a plan. They don't have to worry about things. If something happened to one or the other, then they know what they're going to be doing. And they know how to take care of it. So it's a complete package, and it's all free of charge.
That's huge. And I know that there's never one solution for every person regarding Social Security claiming. We know that. But let's talk a little bit more about what you've touched on, like, hey, you can claim early, or you could delay it as long as possible because delaying could be a good idea. Talk a little bit about some of the pros and cons of claiming early. Like, why would you want to claim early? Or what about some of the pros and cons of delaying your claiming?
Okay, that's good. They're both good questions. Let's do the pros and cons by delaying first. The more you delay, the more money you're going to have. Okay, you could have up to 24% more than what your full retirement age is going to be. So that's important. Okay, so if you live long and longevity is in your family, that's what you want to do. And you're the breadwinner, you want to make sure of that. Okay. Now, if you weren't the breadwinner, you can claim early. You can maybe claim at 62, 63, somewhere's in there. It all depending on the dollar amounts that you each have and your age difference too. When so that's important. There's a lot of things to consider in there. But the breadwinner, the longer you wait, the better off because you're actually doing it for two people. And it's not always,
and if you can afford it,
right?
You mentioned health, but also, can you afford to live and pay your bills in retirement if you don't have that amount? And I think that would be a factor. Like, what if you can't rub two nickels together? Then there's no need to think about delaying because you need it as soon as possible. But health is a good one. Can you afford it? Because every year you do wait, there's a benefit of more for you. So that's a good point.
Yep. And taking it early, if you're sick, I'm right there with you. Take it. Yeah. I'm not with the people that I hear this all the time. Well, I'm afraid Social Security won't be there when I retire, so I'm going to take it now at 62. Okay. Well, that's not an answer. Okay. That's not even a good analogy. Okay. Social Security is here. I don't see it going anywhere. They may make adjustments by prolonging it a little bit or raising taxes or something of that nature, but if it goes away, then the country's really in trouble, I think. And
it's almost like back in the economic crisis of 2007, like when the banks were too big to fail, so the government stepped in. Social Security is too big to fail. Logically, you can't let that fail and disappear and go away. But like you said, there might be some little tweaks or adjustments, but I think that's a good point. I've been hearing that argument for 30 years. Oh, Social Security is going to expire, go away. Every year, every decade, people keep saying it, but it just can't logically. That's a good point.
Right. I mean, people are living longer, and people don't realize when they first started Social Security, 65, they get their money. But 65 is when people were dying. You know what I'm saying? So people are living a lot longer. They are taking more out. I believe it's 181 million people contributing to it, to 60 million taking the money. So there's money being made every year going into the pot. So, granted, it may not be the finest machine that this government has, but it's a working machine that they could adjust to it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that makes it easier. I've seen people where they did have enough money set aside. Their portfolio looked great. They weren't worried about taxes. Everything looked good. They decided, you know what? Let's take it at 62. Okay. Mm-hmm. I had a couple they're both taking it at 62. They could afford to take that loss. They had no kids, so it made it easy. They were giving money to charity. So go ahead, take advantage of it then. Mm-hmm. If you want to do that. But it's rare you see that because people do need it. Now, if you need the money because you're sick and you're retired, then you have to take it. You got to take it. That I understand too. But if you can afford to maybe make adjustments somewhere else in your portfolio by delaying your Social Security and still retiring, we could help you with that. People think that as soon as you retire, you have to take your Social Security. That is not the case. Okay, you can take your Social Security anytime you want, and that's the thing. People think I'm going to retire at 62, and I'm going to take my Social Security. You don't have to. Okay,
Yeah.
It's a misled theory there for some people.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. So I think that's the bottom line is, should I claim early? Should I claim late? There's not a direct answer for that. And I know that a lot of times people kind of might get frustrated, like, well, just tell me. There's no way. You got to figure it out. You got to run that analysis, whether it's software or working with an advisor or both. And that's how you're going to be able to tell, because everyone's situation is different. I've even heard that sometimes people don't realize, oh, you mean I can get Social Security for maybe my ex-husband, and we've been divorced for this many years. I didn't realize. So how are some of those divorce spouse benefits work?
Yeah, if your spouse, or if you guys got divorced and you've been married for 10 years, okay? And then you turn around, as long as you're married for 10 years and your spouse was higher income, you could take advantage of that right there. And then I hear this all the time. Well, how am I going to find out? When's he going to take it? Because you want to make sure he's taking it before you can use it. You could actually call a Social Security number, and they will actually help you with that. You just need name. If you have the social, that's great. But they get the name and city and where they live. They could actually look it up. Say, okay, well, he's not taking it yet, or yes, he is taking it, and this is what he's getting. So this is what you have when you start at 62. So you could actually work that out, the numbers, and Social Security will help you with that. You don't have to call your ex up and find out. And it doesn't hurt the ex at all. It's not money coming out of his pocket. So
good.
That's kind of a good thing there.
That's good to know. And that's available to you. And if you don't ask for it, you don't get it. But if it's all the, pieces line up, that's benefit to you that you might not have thought you would get.
Yeah. And it happens all the time. I mean, people don't think about it. And they go back 6 months. So, if they started 6 months ago, they can go back 6 months on that. Social Security will. Now, I advise people call every 6 months, so you don't lose 6 months. Don't wait a year to call. Call twice a year, every 6 months until they start taking it, and boom, But if you got kids, the kids will tell you when dad's retiring, something like that. It's just pretty easy there.
You'll hear. You'll hear.
Exactly.
Hey, so I know that we logically know that Google is nice for information, but you shouldn't Google for really specific things. And we've already established the fact that, Social Security claiming early, late, there's all kinds of factors. But what about people that go, well, the Social Security website has a lot of information, or I can go down to my Social Security office and talk to them. Why can't I just get all this done using what Social Security Administration, the government website or the government office? Can't they just help me make all these decisions?
Well, they can't advise you what to do. Okay. Social Security cannot advise you what to do. And more importantly, any other thing that you have, they don't know how you feel. They don't know your finances. They don't know what your goals are. They don't know when you want to retire. Nobody knows that. You need to sit down with somebody like myself, and we go through all them details for you. We need to know your concerns. We need to know, how you feel, what your plans are, what you can do after retirement, for the next 30 years of life. They don't know that. And they're not going to tell you. They're going to say you could take it from 62 to 70. That's all they could do. And they can't advise you when to take it, when not to take it, okay? So don't expect them to give you that answer. And if somebody gave you an answer without even looking at your finances and looking at the whole picture, then that is so wrong right there to begin with, because it's the big picture you got to look at.
Yeah.
Social Security is just one part of your retirement. And you got to look at the whole picture. Do you have a pension? Do you not have a pension? Stuff of that nature. Does your spouse have a pension that you get, after he passes or she passes, you get that money, So there's a lot of different things to look at.
Yeah.
Life insurance, there's so many things to look at. And we have a complete program of all the stuff that we look at. We make sure that we hit everything, And every person's needs are different. So that's the important part, is everything we do is customized for you.
Well, Danny,
You
I
know,
think if someone is wanting to check out their options, what that computer software analysis would come back with and just kind of give some guidance that way, what's the best way that they can reach out and connect with you?
475-257-1807. Just give me a call.
Excellent. Awesome, Danny. Well, thank you so much for coming back on. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.